Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/INTB and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's easy. Go to audibletrial.com/INTB.
Honestly, they're not that bad.
Welcome to a new episode of It's Not That Bad Podcast. I am Fern here with Dom.
Hey there.
So, I'm pretty sure you've seen it or whatever, but every once in a while, like, I'll get into, like, the house hunting, building shows, right?
Yeah.
And really,
you were telling me.
Really, I've been leaving it on the channel every day. So, it's like sometimes I'll pay attention, sometimes I won't. And yeah, we've had this conversation where a lot of the shows are the same, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a new one that came on, new to me, where they help a couple find a house to fix up. And I think there's like 2 or 3 episodes playing, but I wasn't really paying attention until right before I went to bed. Mm-hmm. And this couple, like typical couple, right? They're like, oh, we have this money. We want to buy a bigger house, but affording the stuff that we need, we can't do it with our budget, so we want to buy something fix up, right?
Okay.
You buy something cheaper, put a little bit more money into it, you get what you want. Well, they're doing the kitchen, right? And the guy tells the wife, it's like the wife,
Like the husband?
yeah.
Okay.
And maybe a contractor, maybe a designer. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. But he's telling everyone there, I don't like that. Like, it's a black splash to the kitchen or something. He's like, I don't really like that backsplash. And like, what are you talking about? You're being silly. He's like, no, it's weird. Like, when I'm looking at it, there's like these little dots and they're like jumping around. And it's like, it makes me dizzy. And they're like, oh, you're being so stupid. Like, you're just saying this now, and they're like making a big deal, right? Because they already bought it, and it's super, super expensive, right?
Yeah.
They're like, you're just saying this now. Like, you should have said something earlier. It's like, well, earlier you only had this one piece. I didn't see it all together, and I'm looking at it, and as I'm looking at it,
You see it?
it's doing the same thing, and I'm like,
What is it?
Yeah, it's just a design where it's like a lot of different lines come together and they intersect.
Yeah.
And so, like,
I know what you mean.
This middle part, it's because it's all, the tile's like blue and white, but you see, like, because of the effect of all the geometry in front of your eyes.
Yes.
You
like
focus on,
it starts like
you
vibrating.
focus on this, like, every big intersection. All of a sudden, it kind of turns like this black, and it moves, right? And he's like, yeah, it just really bothers me. And they're like, you're being silly. And they go, well, let's put the whole thing up, and if you really don't like it, then we could take it down. So they do it and all this stuff or whatever. And at the end of it, they're like, so what do you think of the backsplash? He's like, I still hate it. It gives me a headache. And they're like, oh, you're being so silly. Like, you're just making it up. And it's like, you guys are the fucking worst. Like, he is literally telling you, this is physically bothering me. It's not, oh, well, I like dark floors, and this is a light floor, so we gotta tear it. It's nothing stupid. It's not like,
I want an eggshell, but they gave me cream.
yeah, like, look how disgusting this is. This is supposed to be like a light white with a little bit of gray, but now it's like a little bit darker white with a darker gray, and it just looks disgusting. And you see, like, compared to it, it's like, I don't see a difference.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that.
No.
He's physically having a problem with his eyesight, and it's making him like hurt. It's making him like dizzy.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think it looks awesome, and blah blah blah. And he's just like, okay.
That happens to me, like, when I see like certain plaids on white. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. And I told my sister, maybe it's just people with glasses.
Maybe
because no one had glasses except for him. I don't know. It just really made me feel like, God, these people are the fucking worst. Because when you watch any of these shows, you're always gonna come across
Oh,
stupid
yeah.
buyers or fixer-uppers or whatever, right? There's people who want to sell their house like, oh, we think we could get at least like 1 million. And the guy's sitting there like, even after renovations, it's probably only going to reach like maybe 750.
That's so stupid. To me, that's ridiculous. But do you think these people, they watch like all these shows and then they go on and they're like, I know you can, like they try and be like, we can do this and like try and weasel it like to where like that whole this I saw on the channel how similar to this sold for like 150,000, so ours should sell for 250,000.
So
like
obviously, a lot of this stuff is like staged. And
yeah.
Like,
well, we
some
know
of them are actually like one of them.
But we know that reality TV is really scripted.
But I mean, like one of them literally does take over like a couple weeks. They just edit where you're
it's like a day.
It's like a week, and it's like, oh, it's been like 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So like they were really going looking for houses and stuff, but. Yes, most of them are they already know like what they're gonna buy, what they're gonna get, all this stuff, right? But I just feel like they don't understand like housing markets.
Yeah, it's like, and then like some of them too, like I think you told me like they moved into like basically a mansion because even though it was like nowhere near like as close as they wanted, right, or something. Like you're telling me like the husband was like okay with. Like one of the houses that was like closer to where they wanted to be, but she wanted to like them like it was basically like a mansion.
Oh yeah, where it's so the guy wanted to live closer, because his commute was like, I think total it was almost 3 hours.
Yeah,
and he just wanted to live closer so he didn't have to drive the 3 hours. And the girl was like, yeah, but we could. I think it was either like they could stay there or look for a bigger house, but it was like just as far. And he's like, but that doesn't make any sense. But I think they did. I think that one, it was still a drive, but it wasn't a 3 hour drive. It's just like an hour and a half. It was like half of the time. And it's like, okay, but his whole thing was he wanted to live close so he could spend time with you guys, his family.
Yeah, but see, but it's not as long anymore. It's not 3 hours.
But it's not what I wanted. Honestly, that's what a lot of those shows are. Yeah. It's all about like compromising, and I guess that's why you watch them, because you're like, oh, come on, lady, you have to be serious or whatever. And sometimes like I just watch them as like white noise. Like I don't give a shit about nowhere but fuck Texas or whatever. Yeah. But I will say that some of them are interesting because they'll show you like places in America that you never really thought about, and you're like, God damn, housing's that cheap.
Yeah.
And you come out here and it's like, oh, you got your house for $300,000. That's really good. I mean, it is a little bit old, but like it's not falling down. That's really good. Then you'll go to like outside of Cleveland, you get a fully renovated like 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and it's like, oh, this one's kind of expensive. I'm asking $165 for it. I mean, it's only a half an acre. No, hold on. It's only a half acre.
No, we'll take it.
Oh, I guess that's really easy. No, I don't know. But I honestly, because I don't watch a ton of TV right now, I just leave it on that channel. So whenever I turn it on, it's just always there. I'm pretty sure my cat knows more about, how to buy and sell a house and, how renovating these small things really makes it functional. You don't always have to move, and sometimes that's planted in your brain. But the only time you should really move is if it absolutely cannot work. I should stop watching them because it's like, I'm not going to go and buy a fixer-upper in the middle of Texas. But sometimes they're just entertaining.
Yeah.
This is the fucking news.
So did you see the new Morbius trailer? It's kind of what you expect. It does look a lot better than Venom, I will say that. The way that they did the makeup for when he actually like turns into like Morbius and all that, like it looks pretty good.
Like he's turning or something like that.
Yeah, like it actually looks like comic accurate. So I was like, that looks pretty good. Like I like that they're making it look pretty spot on. But there's a cameo in the trailer that's everyone's been like, what does this all mean? What does that mean? Does that mean it connects to that? Yeah. So
the Spider-Man poster.
No, well, maybe. So Michael Keaton is in the trailer as Adrian Toomes, who is the Vulture in Homecoming. So people have been speculating, okay, so does that mean that Morbius is going to tie into the MCU? Does that mean, like, we'll get a Sinister Six now? Like, is it going to be, like, the Vulture, Morbius, Scorpion? Like, where does Venom fit into all this?
Here's what I got from it. Is that they're throwing a lot at the wall. Because, yeah, you're right. That they show that, and it's like, okay, that's Lucy tying. They haven't said anything about Venom. But also, they did tie in a Spider-Man.
But
it's
weird
not
thing is
Tom Holland's
Spider-Man. That's the weird thing.
And you could easily say it's just a poster of a Spider-Man.
And maybe they threw that poster in for now. It's just like, but when the movie comes out, they could change it to be more accurate to Tom Holland.
Yeah. Here's where it does bother me, because them tying it into other Spider-Man, it is a little bit questionable, but in the long run, it might be fine, because the way that they showed the trailer and how they talked about it and the connections they want to connect, this feels like this could be their start of their part of the Spider-Verse, right? Which I would be okay with if they don't bring in Venom, because the way that Venom is just completely doesn't feel the same way. It would feel like if you had the Fantastic Four movie from a couple years ago, just automatically drop in to this one. It's like, okay, well, I mean, they went to space and the MCU's in space. And it's like, yeah, but it's a different feel. It's just a completely different feeling movie. And don't get me wrong, like, it'd be cool because, you know, Doom, and hopefully he's coming. Allegedly he's coming.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's not the same, you know, whatever. Unless they did a storyline where it was a multiple universe, right?
Yeah.
Like where in the last Spider-Man movie, they talked about it. And somehow there's like this crazy hole that keeps opening, and you just happen to see Jessica Alba's Invisible Woman come in or something, right? And it's like, oh, that's weird. Because my sister told me that, and I give credit for DC for doing this, their crossover thing that they're doing.
Yeah, I was reading about that.
Yeah, how they just threw in Ezra Miller, and it's like, okay, that makes sense, because it does make sense. And because I was confused at first, and I asked her, is Batman Beyond in the thing? She's like, what are you talking about? And I told her that, you know, like fucking YouTube always like shows this, whatever. And it basically said that Batman Beyond is a part of this DC TV show universe, right? And I was confused. But apparently what they did was they had like a cameo from old Batman in the cartoon, but as him as a live action. It's what's his name? And I don't know if they had the kid there or not, but what they did was like, see, this is a part of it, but it's not because it's just a different universe, but it is because it's a different universe. Yeah. And that's why it worked with Ezra Miller, because he is a Flash, but he's a different Flash.
He's from a different
universe. But I don't have trust in Sony.
Yeah, me either.
Because you're right. If they let Sony run with this idea, then they were like, well, we have Venom. Everyone loves Venom and Carnage, and it's like, but they don't fit in this universe. Like, the Spider-Man thing is already kind of iffy, and it's like we're happy to know that he is gonna come back.
Yeah.
But how and for how long, and what does this mean for everything else? That's where it gets kind of like, because I like Tom Hardy, and the Venom movie is fine for what it is.
Okay.
But it's just like Suicide Squad, it's not a good movie. It's cool to see Venom and and Tom Hardy, and it's like, yeah, because he's a badass, even though he's not a badass in that movie. You would think, right? You would think he's just ultra badass. He's kind of a pussy, but having the idea of a possibility that we're going to see that Venom come in and they set up like this super cool, like, oh, the new, like, oh, look at the X-Men. And it's like, oh, I didn't want a different Wolverine, but then he's like so good. Everyone's like, oh, but he's a new Wolverine. It's like, yeah, because he's the Wolverine we should have got a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch that. But, like, you know, they set up this and we have, oh, cool Fantastic Four and all the stuff is coming together. And then Tom Hardy comes riding in on a motorcycle. I'm going to be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I would literally feel like, oh my God. Because that's not the Venom I want to see in this greater MCU universe. And the reason why I say that is because I have a feeling that if the MCU were to ever do their Venom, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, shit, this is how we should have had the Venom movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just...
Yeah. I know exactly. That's exactly how I feel too. I'm just like, well, at least Morbius looks pretty good. At least like they're trying to connect it, but they're not being stupid about it. Just as long as you don't give me like something dumb like where the Rhino is made by Paul Giamatti again.
I don't know. I mean, we'll wait for it, I guess, and hopefully, like the movie doesn't end and it's like a cutscene where some plane lands and they're like, "Who are we looking for?" And it's like, "Oh, it's this journalist from San Francisco," and it's like, no. I would be so fucking mad.
So we'll get into the larger thing of it later in the episode, but so Stephen King just recently had some tweets about diversity, especially when it came to specific nominations that came out this week. So his tweets were, as a writer, I'm allowed to be nominated. I think what he meant is be allowed to be nominated in just 3 categories: Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Original Screenplay. For me, the diversity issue, as it applies to individual actors and directors anyway, did not come up. That said, I would never consider diversity in matters of art, only quality. It seems to me that to do otherwise would be wrong. After he said that, and after a lot of the backlash that we've been having with, you know, like the Golden Globes and BAFTA, and especially just recently this week, you know, people are like calling him out because they're like, you know, like one person said, with all due respect, I'm afraid that meritocracy could only work if the game weren't already rigged. And like even like Ava DuVernay like called him out on that too. It's just it's true too though, because I feel like Stephen King does try and stand up for like the right things too. Because like afterwards he did say like the most important thing we can do as artists and creative people is make sure everyone has the same fair shot, regardless of sex, color, or orientation. Right now, such people are badly underrepresented, and not only in the arts, we can't win awards. You can't win awards if you're shut out of the game. Is this more of a sign of that age-old adage that we come back to where it's like old white people don't understand what they're talking about, where they don't see their privilege, where it's like I get where he's coming from, where it's like, yeah, you're right in pointing out certain things are rigged against people like us. But your argument that like, oh, diversity has no place in art. It's about what you create. It's the quality of what you create. It's like, no, because there's specific things that are done that like reflect like an experience, right? Like if you go into a film that's about like LGBTQ community and you're not part of that community, like you may sympathize and even empathize, but like you don't like really know what it is, right? So and it's like they're like they have to have their own like. Unfortunately, in the system that we live in, like they have to have their own like niche area because most people are like, that's wrong.
How I imagine it is if you said being a good guitar player just takes time and hard work and you could get there, right? And it's like, yeah, okay. But then you take two people, like let's say there's person A, person B, and you tell them the same thing, but person A lives in a upper class middle family whose parents on the whim can just buy said person a guitar and an amp and maybe book some classes for him to get started, maybe even buy him some different book tablets so he could learn on his own and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Person B lives in like a 2-bedroom apartment with his family of 5 and they live paycheck by paycheck, and he has the same drive as the other guy, but they can't afford to buy him a guitar, at least not right now. Maybe like they'll save up or something, right, for Christmas or whatever. And no matter what, you're right? The hard work and dedication, that makes a good guitar player. But obviously you have to say that person A has the upper hand. He's going to have it easier to learn, right?
Yeah.
Person B, I'm not saying that he's never going to get there. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the same work ethic or dedication as person A, but physically he's a part of a system that is hard for him to get something as much as he wants, like a guitar.
Yeah.
He can't afford it. He just doesn't come from that background, so everything's just going to be a little bit harder than him. There's a difference.
Yeah, it's good that we call these people out, right? Because they need to understand that, like, things that they say, like, yes, in the grand scheme of things, like, the things that they say, who like, really gives a shit, right? They're just old white people who are trying to hold on to the last, like, grasp of their power that they still have, right? But at the same time, it's like, do you know how many people, like, read these tweets and then they're just like, they just sit there and agree with him? But with the context of, like, his other tweets, too, I think he is also acknowledging that fact. But I think it's that he took so long to tweet that out. It's like, it shouldn't have taken you, like, this long to tweet it, right? It should have, like, that's, and diversity should be part of the argument. Like, we've talked about this like multiple times, so we're gonna talk about it more a little bit later. But like diversity has to be talked about. I'm sorry, like people want to do that thing where they're like, oh, you guys are just bringing this up because whatever. You can insert whatever dumb, stupid argument you have. It could be how many dumb arguments are there every day for something stupid like that? Where it's like you only bring up diversity because of this. It's like we only have to bring it up because you guys constantly do this.
Yeah, I mean, like, it really is baffling to think that people just say that, oh, well, this doesn't happen, and in their mind it doesn't. And it's like, yeah, that's not how the world works.
No.
Just because you believe something, just because you say something, doesn't make it true. And even if that hurts you down to the core.
Oh, I don't know why that has to hurt you so badly.
Yeah.
But I think the second, like, his other tweets kind of rectify that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's still that, like, the idea that you, like, art is subjective only to the quality is, like, no. Like, we know that's not true. We know that, like, art is subjective to a lot of different things. Like, even just, like, looking at a film and you know that, like, it's from someone who's not from the United States, or that it's a person of color, or it's a woman director, or, you know what I mean? It's any number of different factors that, like, that influences the way you look at it. Or even, like, the writer. Like, if you're M. Night Shyamalan and you should be writing for, like, people like yourself, but instead he writes for just white people. And it's, what does that say about M. Night Shyamalan?
Yeah, he's smart.
Yeah, it's true.
The truth is, there's a lot that goes into his statement that's just going to take us too long. And we've touched on a lot of stuff before.
It's also like it's sad that it's like he knows to correct it, right? He knows to tweet out something to correct it a little bit. At least because I really don't want to hate him because I love Stephen King's work, but like at least it's not a full blown okay boomer thing where it's like there's people out there who tweet that first part and then they're like, yep, that's what I believe.
Yeah,
that's it.
No, I mean, to give credit where credit is due, he is coming from a place of an artist, right? Mm-hmm. He has a track record of, yeah, you're right. He's trying to be someone who gives the people that are lesser than, stories in his books and stuff, right? He gives these characters, whatever, right? All this stuff. Like, he's fine with all that. But his thought process is still very stuck in I've been sheltered my entire life because this is life I led. And that makes sense. And the fact that he did come back and he, like you said, he tried to rectify what he was saying and backpedaled a little bit and was like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, whatever. Makes sense because he's not that person. But it is kind of fucked up just because he's gone this entire time with that mindset, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's where we're still stuck on. We're stuck on the fact that as much as we can enjoy Stephen King and by no means do we think like he's hashtag canceled. But just the fact that he's lived this entire lifetime with that mindset, him being completely oblivious to, what was really behind that statement, that's where it kind of gets like, it's still a little bit problematic.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about problematic people in and around Hollywood and entertainment and stuff, we're going to be here for an hour. But actually, we'll probably be here for like 5 hours.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. It's sad the fact that he tweeted it, and it's sad the fact that he had that mindset. But it is good knowing that people like him, people that we still hold fairly high in our standards, are willing to go back and say, hey, I didn't mean any harm. Like, I didn't know that, this was this and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The fact that he's trying shows that, hey, there are some people willing to say, oh, I was wrong. You're right. My bad. As opposed to, some people who stand by said statement and be like, no, this is what I believe in. I'm not a snowflake. You guys are all butthurt. It's just, it was an icky statement.
Yeah.
But, he did try to fix it afterwards. So, kudos to him.
Listen carefully. You are now 5,000 miles from land, and you're descending 7 miles to the bottom of the ocean. See you all in a month.
Here we go. All right, we're gonna do this. Let's do this.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how bad's my rig?
10. We drilled to the bottom of the ocean, and we don't know what came out.
Gotta get to the station.
How would we even get there?
We walk. We're just gonna walk with insufficient oxygen across the bottom of the ocean.
You don't know what's out there.
Worst idea ever.
What was that?
Turn your lights on.
Underwater is a 2020 American science fiction horror directed by William Eubank and written by Brian Duffield and Adam Kozad. TN Industries intends to drill 7 miles to the bottom of the Mariana Trench for resources. A large earthquake hits and a section of the Kepler 822 station starts to suffer a catastrophic breach from the pressure. Nora Price, played by Kristen Stewart, a mechanical engineer, and Rodrigo, played by Mamadou Athie, are able to escape the area and close it off, temporarily preventing further damage to the Kepler. They rescue Paul, played by TJ Miller, as they make their way to the escape pod bay. However, the three discover that all of the escape pods have already been deployed, with Captain Lucien, played by Vincent Cassel, being the only person in the area when the three arrive. The surviving crew reach a control base and find biologist Emily Haversham, played by Jessica Henwick, and engineer Liam Smith, played by John Gallagher Jr., who are unsuccessful in their attempts to make contact. Lucien recommends that they put on pressurized suits and walk 1 mile across the ocean floor to the Roebuck Station 641. They start to emerge from the station into a cargo elevator, but Rodrigo's helmet is faulty and cracks from the pressure, killing him instantly. The surviving crew see a distress beacon from one of the escape pods below, and Smith and Paul go outside to investigate. As Smith and Paul arrive at the location, the pod has been ripped open and a body lies in the rubble. Paul inspects the body, only for a hatchling creature to emerge from it and attack him. Smith is able to shoot and kill it with a bolt gun, and they bring it inside. Studying the creature's body, Haversham realizes it is a part of a previously undiscovered species. The five begin to set out towards the Roebuck station, but as they are walking, the Kepler explodes, causing debris to fly towards them. Smith is hit by the debris, but Price and Lucien manage to save him and bring him inside. They are able to make it to the meet point station by taking an access tunnel, allowing them to charge and clean their suits, to find that Smith's oxygen source is badly damaged from the debris. As they make their way through the access tunnel, Paul is attacked by an unknown creature and is dragged underwater before being ripped out of his suit and killed. Before leaving the access tunnel, the team discover that Smith's damaged oxygen pod will cause him to have to breathe in toxic fumes from the explosion. Unwilling to leave another crew member behind, Price, Lucien, and Haversham agree to help him walk, dragging him if they have to. The remaining 4 crew members press on and start their walk across the ocean floor, but a humanoid creature appears, dragging Smith into a cave. Lucien manages to pull Smith out, but then tries to go for Smith's bolt gun, allowing the creature an opportunity to drag Lucien up to the water and away from the other 3. Price is dragged along with Lucien, but when the creature begins ascending, Lucien sacrifices himself so that Price may escape the increasing change in pressure. Price ends up at the abandoned Shepherd Station and finds that Lucien worked there beforehand, causing suspicion as to what Lucien really knew about these creatures and their involvement with the drilling station. Price tries to make contact with Smith and Haversham, but to no avail. She then gets a new pressurized suit and leaves the Shepherd, continuing toward the Roebuck. Walking along the ocean floor, Price reunites with Haversham, dragging Smith towards the Roebuck station and proceeds to help. As they enter the station, they notice that there is a nest of the humanoid creatures hanging from the ceiling and try to sneak by. But Haversham's suit, low on oxygen, begins to make a noise, causing one of them to wake up and attack Price. Price is partially swallowed by one of the creatures, but is able to kill it and break free. Before more of the creatures can attack, an enormous creature reveals itself and causes an explosion. Haversham rescues Price and they continue their way into the Roebuck. The 3 are able to reach the escape pod bay, but Price discovers that only 2 work, with the 3rd being damaged and unusable. Price and Haversham manages to get an ailing but still alive Smith into one of the pods, and Price eventually convinces Haversham to take the last one. As this is happening, the gigantic alpha creature, which allegedly attacked and destroyed their rig earlier, emerges from around the Roebuck, surrounded by even more of the humanoid creatures. The creatures start to follow the 2 escape pods, while the Alpha begins to attack the Roebuck. Price, knowing she is already going to die, raises the energy levels of the core engines so that they explode, killing the creature and allowing the escape pods to reach the surface. The film ends with images of newspaper articles depicting TN Industries and their attempts to cover up the incident, which includes keeping Havisham and Smith's testimonies classified.
Underwater, a movie that was intriguing, but definitely turned into a movie that was more than we bargained for.
Yes, exactly.
So, Dom, would you want to go ahead and explain what that means and what you thought about it?
Yeah, so we saw the trailers for this, and I think the way I thought it was going to be was kind of be like, remember that movie Life? Where it was kind of like that, where it was like, oh, they find something under the water, and it turns out to be this. But then it also kind of looked like a little like Cloverfield, which honestly, if it turned out this was like connected to Cloverfield, I was like 100% going to be like, yes, I'm here for that. I'd love that if that was connected to that so much. But there's a point in the film when you think, oh, they're just like monster creatures, right? That makes sense. They're in the Mariana Trench. What could be down there? Oh, like monster people, fish people, right? Oh, like in Aquaman, right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
Aquaman's real, right? But then at the very end, it pulls. It literally, it's like it pulls out an ace card, and it puts it down, and you're like, huh. I honestly did not see that coming, but in the best way.
It basically goes, and boom goes the dynamite.
Yeah, because like this movie, it starts off great, right? It throws you into the action right away. It doesn't like pussyfoot around, right, at all. It doesn't. Yeah, it's like, hey, like Kristen Stewart's like half naked, and you're like, oh, that's kind of distracting. And then wait. They're already in the action. The ships are like the station's already blowing up, and like she's got to get out of the way, and this and that, and blah blah blah, whatever. They're already in like all this danger, and it's like it's kept up for like most of the movie too, right? Like this high stakes, like we're dead basically. We got to get over to here. If we're not, then. But literally, towards the end, it's like there was no other way to say it when we said it in the theaters. We're like. Cthulhu comes out of nowhere, and that is like the main like antagonist for like. There's no other way to say it. Like it's got to be right, Cthulhu, because I'm 100% sure that's like in the public domain. You can just use it now, but like I think it's awesome that like they decided to go that route because it's like where else was it gonna go, right? Like after I think about it, like. Having seen it, it's like, yeah, where else would it go?
They never straight out say it's Cthulhu, but when it pops up and you see it, and it's like, that's Cthulhu.
Yeah.
If this story happened right now, everyone would be like, so Cthulhu's real.
Yeah.
They don't care about interdimensional portals under the sea. Nope. It's Cthulhu. That's all you get.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're right. As the movie's going on, I'm just thinking, okay, there has to be something. I was thinking that maybe they're going to play on the fact that these are the mermaids. Like
because it's like what else would they do, right?
Because when you're first introduced to the fact, well, honestly, early on, they basically say like, that doesn't sound normal.
Yeah.
So you know there's a creature of some sort. And then the first time they actually go out into the ocean, they come back with a small, tiny, what do you call it, chest burster alien
basically.
thingy.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, oh, so it's just, they're like a monster.
Yeah.
And right away you know that that's probably like a baby or a little part of it, whatever. And then it goes on and it shows you they're like these humanoid things, and you're like, oh. And my first thought was like, oh, those are mermaids.
Yeah.
Like, later on, they're going to be like, oh, like these are like the mermaids or whatever, right? And like, you get towards the end, and I don't know. I'm just thinking like, yeah, so like something's gonna happen. They're gonna kind of escape, but the mermaids are there now, and it's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those movies. Honestly, you're right. They put you in action so fast that the little breathers are the parts that make you suspenseful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally the opposite of what normally you would see in like a movie.
Yeah, but at the end, like towards the end of it, you're just thinking, yeah, okay, this is whatever, and then the whole thing starts moving, and you're like, oh, it's a bigger creature, and even then, you just think there's a bigger thing of whatever this is,
whatever they are.
Yeah, and then it's whatever, and then they shoot the little thingy, and you see the face, and you're like, that's Cthulhu.
You're like,
That's fucking
Cthulhu.
Now this all makes sense.
Yeah.
This is all Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Holy shit. This is fucking crazy.
That's what they were. That's what they drilled to. They accidentally drilled into Cthulhu's den, and they woke Cthulhu, and that's what it is.
Yeah. And this isn't by far the greatest horror suspenseful movie, whatever. It isn't trying to go for groundbreaking with effects or camera work or whatever. It's just, honestly, the whole movie's enjoyable. Literally, in the beginning, we get maybe 2 minutes of it just kind of being quiet, more like subdue, and then it hits. Like right away, it hits. I mean, honestly, it's so fast. Kristen Stewart doesn't even get to put her shoes on.
No, which is weird too, because it's like we saw that part in the trailer. I thought that was gonna come like maybe like 15 minutes in. Like we're gonna be introduced to T.J. Miller, the funny guy, and then Mamadou Athie, he's the like nerdy guy who's like, I'm the nerdy guy, right? You know, cookie cutter script, right? But this movie, it's like that already happened. Like we're like they cut that all out, and they're like, okay, we're gonna start right here,
which is cool too, because as the story's going on, I even told you like, the captain knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And technically, we don't get any confirmation on it, but you do tie everything together because the way he's acting, how he's going about everything. And then, of course, she goes to the station that, what was it, like decommissioned or whatever.
Yeah.
And you find out, oh, he's been here before.
Yeah.
And it's like, weird, crazy. So obviously that ties into the fact that he probably knows exactly what's going on. And if you want to talk about reasons why he came back, I mean, I guess he lied about his daughter being dead. So maybe when he escaped the first time, he realized like there was nothing to live for. Why not go back down?
Yeah.
You know?
I can see that.
But it's not really about a story of let's get all these characters together and you're going to fall for them. It's a story of there's shit going down and we need to get out of here.
Exactly.
Because you're along for the ride. Like you're there with them and you're trying to figure out alongside with them, how are we going to escape?
And what I like too is that they don't really pull the punches when it comes to, like, they actually take into account, like, these suits aren't, like, meant to be out in the pressure like that. Like, the first person who dies, yes, it's the black guy, of course. But, like...
You gotta get one trope down.
But, like, yeah, it's like, it doesn't pull the punch. It doesn't even, like, try and be like, oh, it's gonna... They, like, try and get him back in or anything. It just hits and, like, it cracks and then, like, boom, it, like, causes... And pushes her off, right? And she, like, falls. And that's when she sees, like, the beacon from the pod.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, it's like it... And then, like, even, like, with T.J. Miller's character, like, it rips him out of the, like, the thing. And then, like, the pressure and everything, like, is affecting them. I like that they actually,
they played on that really well.
Yeah.
Because everything explodes. Or implodes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just... It makes you really feel like that claustrophobic feel, too. Like, oh, my God, I hated the part at the beginning when they had to crawl. Because, like, to me, that's, like, the worst thing.
I think that was really cool, too, because they really only made you feel that way with Kristen Stewart's character. Because she's the main character. She's the one you're going to follow through the whole story. So there's parts of it where it's like, yeah, of course, like this is this, but when you watch it and they get to those parts, it focuses on her breathing. It focuses like on how she's barely getting by, because there's a scene where the three of them towards the beginning, he even makes TJ Miller makes a joke about, he's like, I'm a big boy or whatever, right? But he gets through. But in that scene, she's the first one to go through, and it feels like she can't fit. There's no way she's fitting. How is she fitting? How are they fitting? You know. But of course, T.J. Miller is able to get through.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, then it's not it's bigger than she's making it out to be.
Yeah, and they do that through the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the cool thing about this movie is that the ending opens up so much possibilities.
I feel like it's like the whole alien thing, where it's like the creators, like, you can tell that they have an idea for where, like, things are gonna go, right? Like they like the whole cover up at the end, right? Like, and they say that they're gonna go back down there, so it feels like there's more to explore down there. But I just hope, like, I know this movie, I don't think it didn't do too well. So if it ever does get a sequel, like, I would like them to explore other things. Like, we could see another Cthulhu monster, but I'd like to see, like, them explore more, like, why. But, like, why are they so intent on going down there?
Yeah.
Like, what is it?
Well, see, the cool thing about what everything implies is that it's two things. The world we live in is either they know what's down there and they're trying to harvest something, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like a clover field where they're harvesting the nectar from, the bottom of the sea or whatever.
Yeah, to put in the slush show.
Yeah, it could be something like that, or we just live in a fucked up planet. We have to drill in order to find more resources.
Oh, that's true.
And so that's why they can't stop, because it happened before. And it's funny too, because when you hear that this thing happened before, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, I mean, we're building basically a whole station down in this area where we shouldn't be at. Of course there's going to be an accident. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But the second time around we'll do better. So it makes sense in that way. But also you could do so much. Like, you can go the fantasy route, and there really is, like, this portal to alternate dimensions down there, which this thing came from. That could be a thing. It could be that this is just some ancient world shit that got trapped under there, and this is what they're going to explore now. That's one thing that I really liked. We talked about this with Godzilla, how they kind of brought in this, like, ancient Earth type of dimension where they go deep down in
the hollow earth.
Yeah, to inside the earth, and then they find, like, this whole shrine. It's like, so people were here, and this is a whole, it's an awesome fantasy thing.
Yeah,
they could do something like that. It could be so many different things that, honestly, they could do a second part where everything's on top, and they deal with like a sci-fi spy film where they're trying to figure out what happened, and then all of a sudden there's these people, and they're in this cult that believes that they know there's this monster down there. I mean, like, they could go so many different routes with this movie. Well, what happens after this movie, it makes the movie so much richer. It's how we always talk about how we wish we had the accidental prequel. It's why Split was so good, because it gave us something that we didn't even know we needed. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is an origin story?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Exactly.
This could be an origin story to life after Cthulhu and what it means and all this stuff, right? This could have been the beginning to Pacific Rim that we never saw. You know what I mean?
That's true.
The movie itself isn't the biggest on-screen, spectacular movie immersion you're going to get.
No.
but it's a really good movie. It's super fun. It moves through everything so fast. It does give you a little bit of suspense, so that does make sense. It plays on the horror aspect of being alone and trapped and you can't get out. There's a lot to it that it may not be as evil as like a witch or something.
Yeah.
But it's still like this unknown thing, and then the ending hits you and you're like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. Because the movie was enjoyable before then. I liked the movie before then, but the ending makes it like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think it was like my enjoyment was like, yeah, this is good, this is great. You know, I'm going along pretty good. I'm like, it's good. I'll probably, if it's on ever again, I'd probably watch it. But then as soon as the ending comes, I'm like, holy shit! Oh my god! No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And you know what I mean? It just elevates it that much more. And I think they convey that claustrophobia and like you're trapped with them really good. And like the acting isn't terrible. Like, I mean, like it could have been worse, right? Like this, you could tell like they were having fun and like they're trying at least. They're not like it could be even more terrible. But I think more people should have at least gone to see it. It's not terrible. Like it's not a bad movie at all. Like it could have been way worse. Like the CGI could have been terrible, or like it could have been any number of ways. But the way it played out was like, this was a good, enjoyable like horror film.
Honestly, this movie is a go watch if you're into horror of any type. Or
basically it's kind of like Alien but in underwater. So if you're into those kind of like, where it's like there's something lurking but I don't know what it is, this is that kind of movie for you.
Good film, backed hard. It's a really intriguing film that I didn't think we'd get, and I'm happy that we actually got something this cool.
Yeah.
So watch it.
All right, so just this week we got the Oscar nominations. So let's go over the original screenplay. It's Knives Out, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite. Adapted screenplay, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Two Popes. Anime feature, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, I Lost My Body, Klaus, Missing Link, and Toy Story 4. You think it's kind of crazy that Frozen 2 didn't get a nomination? I think you know why they didn't is because Frozen already won, and How to Train Your Dragon hasn't won, and I think Toy Story already won one, right? So I think this is kind of them. I think they're gonna give it to How to Train Your Dragon. I feel like it's gonna be that thing where it's like, oh, well, they deserve it. But you know something I like is that Disney isn't dominating the category like it normally does.
Yeah.
Let's go to Best Director. Man number one, man number two, it's Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, of course. Todd Phillips for The Joker. Sam Mendes for 1917. Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, of course. And then Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. Well, what do you think about the whole controversy of, like, no women?
It feels icky because we've had this last few years talking about... It's not just the Me Too movement, but it's what that push for of, like, hey, so women have problems in Hollywood? Weird. And then how that's continuously going further and further and further. And it's not like you're just saying, hey, let's give X woman who made a movie a spot. It's taking, like you said, taking consideration that Greta Gerwig took something as classic as Little Women and still made it a really good film, but updated a little bit to where it feels like this is not only a good movie, but it fits for what we're doing, how this is right now, right? Or The Farewell, doing something we talked about with like Roma, taking a story from a different culture and still make it intriguing. But I mean, The Irishman.
Oh yeah, you know what? The Irishman. God. And then, oh my God, we're gonna get into it right now. But best supporting actress, Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell. She deserved it. Laura Dern for Marriage Story. She deserves it. Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit. Florence Pugh for Little Women, and Margot Robbie for Bombshell. They all deserve it. But honestly, like, people who've seen Richard Jewell are kind of like, oh, the one scene where she like kind of cries in this one part, and that's it. Like, why was Kathy Bates nominated? Oh, it's kind of like the Meryl Streep thing where it's like, oh, it's Kathy Bates, she has to. But like, this is the only category where people of color actually can win in, like, supporting for some, and you can't even do that. Like, you can't even nominate one like, I get, like, Florence Pugh is an up-and-comer, right? But it's that thing where it's like, I feel like with the movies she's had, Midsummer, Fighting with My Family, Little Women, showed the range of her acting skills already. She can win an Oscar later, right? The same thing with Margot Robbie. I think Margot Robbie's our age about, right? Or she's younger than us, maybe? I feel like the only people on here who really, like, Laura Dern did a good job in Marriage Story, and, like, Scarlett Johansson, right? But, like, there's so many other people you could have put here, like, just all around. But instead, they're like, who are the whitest women we can find? And then let's move on to supporting actor. Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Anthony Hopkins for The Two Popes. Al Pacino for The Irishman. Joe Pesci for The Irishman. Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. See, they're both Italian, so they're not white, so it's okay. Was I reading something or watching a YouTube video where they were trying to argue that Italian isn't and Irish are different from white. They were hated by white people for so long, so they're different. So that their diversity, it's like, no, they're from Europe. Yeah, they're all white. Like, the Irish are white people. They're white. Like, I don't. You can the Italians. They're white people too.
Spaniards.
Yep, they're white. Portuguese, you're white. You live in. You're Greek. You're white. Like, it's not
a darker shade of white.
Yeah, it's not until you get to Turkey, then you're like, okay, now you're questionable.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? You got to get out of the Balkans before you can become not white.
Yeah, you're right. It makes you feel like, so did the last, like, 4 or 5 years even matter?
No, racism doesn't exist anymore. We learned from our mistakes. Moonlight won Best Picture. La La Land didn't win. You guys didn't want La La Land to win. We wanted it to win, but you wanted Moonlight, so we gave you Moonlight. So lead actress is, now here we go. They did it. They did it. Cynthia Erivo for Harriet, Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story, Saoirse Ronan for Little Women, Charlize Theron for Bombshell, and Renee Zellweger for Judy. They have a person of color. She's nominated. We gave you guys. We knew you guys would be mad, so we put one in. I mean, she deserved that.
I mean, she's not gonna win.
Yeah,
but we did it.
It is kind of messed up though that Scarlett Johansson gets 2. I think of everything, she shouldn't have gotten. I don't know, because Jojo Rabbit, she does a good job. Marriage Story, she does a good job, but I think they should have gone with Marriage Story, because that's more of an acting. Like, I was trying to explain that to my mom and my sisters. I was like, it's not a Best Picture movie. It's we're actors, we're acting movie. Like, if you wanted to show, like, actors how to act, like, show them that movie. And then let's get to lead actor. Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory. See, he's Spanish. Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Adam Driver for Marriage Story. Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. And Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. And do you know how many people... I read this article. It infuriated me so badly because he was trying to defend the reason why Joker was nominated wasn't the reasons you think it is. Like, oh, it has nothing to do with the angry white men who live in this world where we get punished for everyone's, like, I don't know. It was just this whole thing about, like Joker's a good movie by itself because it's good, and, like, did you even see the movie? Like, it's just kind of stupid. All right, let's get to Best Picture. Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. Honestly, so far I have seen everything except for 1917 and The Irishman, and of right now, the one that I want to win is Parasite, because that movie is just it's a great film by itself. But it's also, like, it would be such a... Like, it would correct the mistake they made last year with Roma. Where it's like, these people who are international now... Sorry, we're not calling them foreigners anymore. These international filmmakers can make films just as good as Hollywood. Like, as good as a Martin Scorsese or a Quentin Tarantino, right? Like, they can make these films just as good or even better. And yet, like, we still don't give them, like... Oh, Alfonso Cuarón, he's a great director, and he's a great auteur. We'll call him the great auteur that he is, but he still can't. His movie still can't win Best Picture. And then, like, the fact that Joker was nominated, like, upsets me, because I was like, there's so many other movies that you could have put there. The Farewell, you could have put Hustlers, you could have put The Lighthouse, you could have put Midsummer. You could have had a chance to put these films that, like, actually were, like, really good by these actual auteurs like Ari Aster or Robert Eggers, but you chose to do... Oh, well, Todd Phillips made a movie about angry white men, because, you know, like, they struggle too in America. You know how struggling it is for them? It was funny too, because someone brought up how, like, oh yeah, the DC's gonna win an Oscar before Marvel, because watch out, Joker's gonna win. I was like, Joker's not gonna win. Even with the whole lack of diversity thing, it's going to be The Irishman or it's going to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. No matter how much they want to diversify, I think like 80% is still like old white guys.
Yeah. I could see them swinging for Once Upon a Time and then Parasite being one because it just gets more and more and more coverage.
I would love for it to... If it pulled off a Moonlight and it came out of nowhere and won, I'd love it. Like, it would... Like I said, it would show, like, hey, international films can actually do well. And then also it's like, oh, wait, you're telling me, like, an actual Best Picture from last year is going to win? What?
But, I mean, I haven't watched everything, so I can't fully say...
Ford versus Ferrari, I'll say, it's a good movie.
But is it good like a Green Book, where it was entertaining and fun and you liked it, but Best Picture?
Honestly, it was a little bit better than Green Book, but Best Picture, if it won, it would be an upset, and I would be like, I wouldn't be. I think I'd feel like how I feel like with Green Book. I'd be like, meh, like. Yeah. It's not the best film, but, like, at least Bohemian Rhapsody. At least, like a Black Klansman was good, but we said, like, we saw Sorry to Bother You, and that did what that film was trying to do, but way better.
Yeah. Like, obviously, what Best Picture you want the Best Picture to win.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do watch movies and they're really good movies, but it really is subjective to say what is.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that argument 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When it was like, well, I want Shape of Water to win, but Three Billboards is also
exactly
the same. Like, it makes me feel the same way. I felt like Three Billboards could win Best Picture just as well as Shape of Water.
Yeah. Exactly.
But last year, yeah, it was like, oh, I didn't expect that to win. Oh, fuck. And like I said, I haven't seen everything, so I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, it is intriguing to see how people view things, especially year after year. And now, just like it seems like every year with award shows, controversy hits where what does this mean for not only the best pictures, but like then what are the categories that are going to get thrown to? Well, this is nominated for this. Oh, well, Jordan Peele didn't get nominated for best director, but we could give him best original screenplay.
And that's what I think is going to play out in adapted screenplay, is they're going to give Greta Gerwig adapted screenplay because, it's because she wasn't nominated for best. It's the whole Argo thing again, where while Ben Affleck wasn't nominated for best director, everyone was upset about it. So we have to give Argo the best picture.
I mean, if that happens, it's one of those things where, yeah, it's cool, it's getting recognition, but it's not getting the recognition it deserves.
No.
You know?
Yeah, and that's why I think, like, I didn't talk about cinematography, but, like, Lighthouse is nominated for that. And it would be awesome if that won, but I feel like they're going to do something, like, it doesn't stand a chance because it's against The Irishman, Joker, Lighthouse, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. And they're going to probably give it, although rightfully so, they'll probably give it to, like, 1917. That's what I was going to say. But it's also Roger Deakins again. And we do know Roger Deakins is a great cinematographer. So it's going to be one of those things we're going to be like, yeah, like, it's like, congratulations, but, like, it's like, but someone else might, like...
Well, see, that's... I mean, obviously, we're going to be talking about this more and more and after and whatever, but we are always stuck with two sides of the same coin where you're right. Do you go ahead and nominate and give said award to this movie because it's never going to stand a chance, and that's good because at least it's getting recognition? Or do you give it to the movie that actually deserves it no matter what? Does the 1917 actually deserve that award?
Yeah.
Or do you say, hey, you know what was really cool and, you know, maybe should have got a little bit more recognition but didn't? The Lighthouse, it was a really cool film. That had really interesting cinematography. Let's give it to that. I'm not saying that that's the worst cinematography of the group or anything, but I'm saying, like, what if we watch 1917 and it's like, fuck, that's actually really good. Like, it gives you the same feeling as we saw with Blade Runner, where you're like, God damn, this is just beautiful. And then they give it to The Lighthouse, where you're sitting like, I love The Lighthouse. I love the way it's filmed. Like, everything about that movie is great. But I mean, 1917 was masterful. You know what I mean?
Did you see that?
But it's that fucking. But what do we do? Do we cheer either way and say, well, at least he's getting recognition. At least that movie's having their name on that billboard of this is what won this year? Or do you stick with, like, but we should give it to who deserves it? But then, like, does that switch with different categories, right?
But then, see, we're falling into the trap that Stephen King fell into, which we brought up earlier in the episode. It's like, what do you choose? Do you choose diversity over quality? Or do you be diverse so that just of diversity's sake? Or do you try and do just the quality? Or do you pull an Oscars and be like, well, so-and-so hasn't ever won before, and they deserve it?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I know. As fucked up as that always is, what if you get this list and you're saying, well, out of everyone, this person deserves it. But, I mean, this movie came out, and that's, maybe that deserves, you know what I mean?
I don't know. It's so hard to, I honestly wish the Oscars would do something where they included people into it. You know what I mean? They included, like, I don't know, maybe, like, more, like, yes, more diversity. Obviously, they need to get rid of more of the older people, like Clint Eastwood. Maybe he doesn't need to vote anymore. But I feel like there's a way to fix it. They're trying not to. Like, they're going out of their way to be like, and it's something that I feel like I've always said, and I will always say is that the Oscars are always going to be wrong, like always. Like there's the rare occasion, like we said, Moonlight, Shape of Water. Wow, like we're like surprised that those movies won, right? But for the most part, people are always shocked. It's like, no, I told you this earlier in the year. Like, don't be shocked when it's this because that's how it always is. And it's like, I just wish they would. I wish they would change. And I'm not the person who's like, well, that's how it always is, so that's how it always be. You know, that type of person who like that's why things never change. But it's like we should be pushing them to change it more. Like like all like the people, the newer class should push them to strive. Like, hey, maybe next time you present us with more female directors, or you present us with more actors who are of color or of a different, just anything, nationality or whatever. Right? Just like you need to hold these people accountable, and because like these people are literally holding the keys to the gates of like showing you like, oh well, you're not allowed because you're a woman. Like women can't be nominated for best director, and it's gonna come to a point where we're gonna see a huge backlash, and then they're gonna nominate all women one year because of the backlash, and then the next couple years they're never gonna nominate a woman again, and they're gonna be like, well, we gave you what do you guys need? More women? Oh my god! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's that feeling that you got when all year you're like, if Beale Street can talk, it's gonna be in it. Beale Street talk's they might win, and then you get there and it's like,
wasn't even nominated.
Yeah, because you're right. They probably had this idea like, yeah, but we already had a movie like that. Do you remember the one from the other year that we did?
Yeah,
like
but did you not see if Beale Street could talk?
But remember, like, the ones that we want to give it to, the white people, we didn't give it to them.
I feel like that's what their thought process is. Well, we gave it to Moonlight, what, like 3 years, 4 years ago, 5 years? Whatever, we already gave them their film.
And
not them. We don't mean those people. I mean, them people. God damn it.
But look at Martin Scorsese made a film this year.
Yeah, we would do the same thing if Steven Spielberg would. Wait, no, that's not what we mean.
I mean, all of this really goes back to pretty much the Stephen King thing. And it's one of those things where the Oscars is so privileged to do this shit that even nominating something does help.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they go ahead and they throw in these nominations that are like, but that doesn't even deserve to be in there.
No.
Why does this movie get to be in there, but this movie doesn't? This movie obviously is a better one. And this movie deserves even the recognition of having its name up with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where people are going to say, like, what's Parasite? I never heard of Parasite. It's best film?
Yeah.
I mean, how many people say that all the time?
Well, and it'll actually get them to go see, like, Parasite, right?
But, like, this whole thing is loaded with what's right, what's wrong.
Exactly.
How they should go about it, but how really it should. I don't know. We'll just put a pin right here because, like I said, it's going to be 2 weeks, and hopefully by next week, we'll have some other story of, oh, did you hear that? Actually, Parasite should have won. But I don't know. I mean, obviously things are going to, there's the whole whisper campaigns that are probably going to be coming out.
Yeah. I really, of everything, it's like, I hope Parasite wins. Like, best actress, it's like, I kind of am I just threw the cards in the air because I'm like, this is like, honestly, it's like, it's going to be either the white woman, the white girl, or the white woman.
But we'll just say thank you guys for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Please, if you can, follow us on any of your streaming services. Mm-hmm. iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. Yeah. We're on Spotify now. Wherever you can listen to, we're probably on there. Or you could also give us a like and follow or whatever on social at INTB _podcast for Twitter and Instagram. You can email us directly at intbpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you thought about the nominations. Did anything bother you? Are we getting too much into it?
Probably.
Like we've been doing.
We always get too far into
Or are
it.
you happy? Is there a film that you thought should have got nominated?
Or did you hate all the film? And you just hate all the movies? You only loved one movie this year, and it was Joker.
Yeah, or let us know what you thought about Underwater.
Yeah, the movie we reviewed.
Or whatever we talked about. We love hearing back from people, comments, DMs, whatever it is. So feel free to do that. And like I said, we're going to be having more of these conversations because the Oscars are in what you said, 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's like the beginning of February.
Ridiculous. And so, before, there's going to be a lot more conversations and yeah. But, as always, guys, remember.
Not the bad.
It's not them.